Hello and welcome to the Strategy with Soul podcast with me, your host, Sally Oddy. I am so excited today to introduce you to Erin Claire Jones. Erin is a human design guide like no other, making human design so simple and accessible. She has attracted a loyal community of over 150,000 people, of which I am definitely a devoted one. Erin uses human design as a guide to help founders, executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals enhance leadership skills and performance. Her Instagram posts are literally my human design North Star, and Erin's work has been featured in Forbes, mindbodygreen, The Trinity, and Nylon. Erin is the go-to guide to learn how to perform at the top of your personal and professional game. Erin, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I am so thrilled. Like I said, you are literally my human design guru. So to have you on as my human design interview, I'm really thrilled. So to get us started, could you please tell me about your journey into human design? Like, where did this actually start for you?
Yeah, it was definitely not a thing I could have predicted. It was not my plan, like so many things, but I came from kind of the startup world. I was working with a number of different businesses and then I also was exploring a lot of different personal development kind of modalities on the side. And then in 2015, I went to a friend's gathering in New York City and sat next to a stranger. And he asked if I could read, if he could read my human design. I had never heard of it before. I was like, okay, like tell me everything. And he did a little mini reading for me on the spot, and it was the most like resonant and accurate thing I'd ever heard. But it also was the most relieving. I was like, a stranger is putting me into words in a way that I've been seeking to do my entire life. But it also was very confronting because I wasn't really living any of it yet. And so he ended that conversation by saying, Erin, I think you're meant to do this. I think that like we should do this together. It was like such a wild cosmic moment. And so he actually became my first teacher. He'd been studying for a decade, and we built a business together as partners for 2 years after that. And then I launched my own practice in early 2018. So it's been a crazy journey. And I think that like, human design is so cool now and it's growing in popularity and it's amazing. But when I first started sharing human design, like that was really not the case. Human design was so new. No one had any idea what I was talking about. It felt like I was like just trudging through mud to try to get people to care. So it's been a really amazing journey to kind of watch the interest and excitement about it grow.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these things just find you?
I know.
And I 100% resonate with what you said. The experience you've had with him is, I think, the experience you now give to every single person who follows your Instagram. You literally speak my soul. It's like when I read it, I'm like, that is me. How does she know this? This is literally crazy.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that you're saying there that when you started off, human design wasn't kind of obviously as big and popular as it is now, because I do a lot of work with female solopreneurs, and a lot of them give up when things don't work really quickly these days, it seems.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've got lots to say on that. Yeah.
Say what you want to say about it.
Well, no, I think it's like such a good reminder because I think we live in a world of like so much instant gratification. And so there can be this sense of like, wow, it's not working immediately. Like I've got to walk away. And like, I know for me, so basically after building the business with him for 2 years, I did end up walking away. A kind of new opportunity came in. It was just like, it was so amazing. And they loved human design, but it was also like really separate from the human design business I was building. And I remember walking away being like, I'm failing, like I really have let go of this thing. But I think during that time, I was like, Erin, like you have to keep studying and you have to keep exploring and you have to keep learning because like, even though the time hasn't been yet, like it's not now yet, it will be, And so like, there's such a, I think, lesson for us in like continuing to trust ourselves, even when we are receiving no external recognition to validate that. And that job that I took was actually the thing that catalyzed my entire journey. All of my clients came from the space that I helped build, like it was just like, and I built my business alongside that job until I could leave. So like, it was really so perfect. But I do think that there was a real period of a couple of years where like I had to keep going, even though like nothing in my path was validating that like this was going to be a sustainable thing for me, And I will say one other thing is there's so much talk out there of like, go leave your job, quit, do the thing. And like, that's not like, I'm not saying that's the wrong thing. Like some people, it's absolutely the right thing, but like, for me to build a business full-time on human design immediately was incredibly stressful because like I was putting so much pressure on myself to sustain myself financially as well as build a new business. And I think when I was able to build a business, my human design business alongside a job, and I didn't have that pressure, even though I was working really, really, really hard, it was so much more organic. And then by the time I left, I was making double the money in human design than that job. And I was like, I'm good. I can step into this. So like that was actually so much more sustainable and like less stressful for me than kind of jumping in immediately and putting all that financial pressure on myself.
Yeah, I think the mistake a lot of people, I obviously work with a lot of coaches and healers, and I think a mistake a lot of them make is thinking this is going to be quick, it's going to start making me loads of money overnight. When I work with new coaches, new to the online space, I'm like, if you've got a day job, keep it. If you've got another source of income, keep it going, because like you said, when you're building a business from scratch, if you've got that financial pressure, it just puts you in a shift of energy that's not conducive to building a soul-fired business, really.
Totally. And it's like, yeah, I think where it was coming from was so different because that stress wasn't there. And so, and again, it's different for everyone, but I think that it's like really learning how to trust ourselves so that we can really kind of navigate those harder moments and be like, it doesn't mean the recognition won't come, but it might not be there just yet.
And I'm glad you've kind of brought this up. We're obviously going to dive very deeply into human design in this conversation, but I'm kind of glad this story's come up now because you let me know before we started recording that obviously getting over this fear of failure, trusting yourself, trusting your path before external validation became available and apparent, and taking the longer view are some of the biggest business lessons you've learned. So taking a longer view is something I'm very interested in and something I'm really deeply exploring at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So how does that look for you?
I'm going to say that I'm not a natural at it. I think that like, I'm just like, I want to take the short view. Like this seems amazing, but my husband is my business partner and he's like just such a freaking expert at like always taking the long view. It's like, what's going to benefit my future self, both in the business and in life. And so our business has been built on simplicity. Like I cannot tell you how many offerings I have wanted to launch over the last 6 years building it together. And like, we were talking before we recorded, like I just launched my first course to teach human design. I've been asked to do that for 6 years, and I have tried so many times. I've been like, I want to do it. I want to do it. And my partner's just like, not until it makes sense, not until it's like the perfect timing. And we finally landed. And it's been so amazing to kind of do it and feel the flow. So I will say I'm not a natural at it, but I think having a partner that's always thinking towards the long term and really thinking about how everything that we do can weave together in a way that really benefits us, like in just the biggest, most sustainable way is really great. And I think for us with our business, like there are a lot of businesses that are like really big months and then really small months. And like our business has just been such a like sustainable growth for the past 4 years, and it's been really nice to kind of rely on that and have it feel really grounded and reliable and steady.
I think it's a good demonstration that I think some people get this notion that we've all got to build our businesses the exact same way. You've got to do this, this, and then this, you know what I mean? And it's something, as a business mentor, I actually rally against it really, because I feel we're all different. We all come at things from different angles. So it's nice to hear actually that you've kind of built this amazing business without having the traditional online course that everyone seems so eager to create, that you've come at it from your own path and you've kind of trusted and followed your own path along the way. So that's great to know. So let's get into human design.
Yeah.
So for people who are listening, and it's funny, getting ready for this interview, I've spoken to quite a few people and a lot of people still don't know what it is. So what is human design?
I know we're saying human design is popular. It is, but it's still like at the beginning.
Yeah.
Human design is a system based on your time, date, and place of birth that reveals your energetic blueprint and how you're uniquely wired to thrive, both in your business, in your relationships, in your life. Like think of it as a system that gives us like each our own roadmap. I think like you said, I think a lot of us feel pressure to kind of build businesses like each other or in the same way. And I think like human design's magic is that it reminds us that we are all wired to do things so, so differently. And the more we lean into kind of our own uniqueness, the more flow we find. And also like the better our relationships are because we stop trying to make our colleagues and partners and kids and parents like us, so it's really amazing. And the last piece that I would share is that like, as mystical as it might feel because it comes from our date, time, and place of birth, the information it actually offers us is so grounded and so practical and so relatable, or at least through my eyes, it feels that way. And so I find that it's appealing even to the most skeptical of people because they just recognize themselves so deeply in it.
I have to say, once you start working with your own human design, you literally get the human design charts of every single person in your life. You literally just can't help it.
Can't help it. Yeah.
And I got mine from my husband, and he's the most strategic, masculine thinking, how to energy. And I got his human design chart, and from what I could, I kind of explained what it meant. And even he was like, wow, that actually makes so much sense. Like, I'd never thought of it that way before. That's why I do this. This is why I do this. Oh, so that's okay then that I do this. So even he was like, and he's like, what's this based on again? I'm like, you don't even like something to do with where the planets were 3 months before and on the day, and I don't know. It's
yeah.
I think the great thing with human design, though, even though, I mean, the chart looks super complicated when you first look at it, the thing I love about human design is it's accessible. And obviously the work you're doing makes it even more so. But if you're new to human design and you go on, I mean, you could go on your website, I'm assuming there's a link to get your human design chart. Once you print that sucker out, what are like the main things you're looking at? Because I've got mine here. I did buy and download your blueprint, which I have been using like a little mini Bible for myself. And when you get your human design chart, like, what are the main things that you should be looking for as a complete novice? Like, if you're just starting.
Yeah, and human design is pretty endless in the information it can offer us. So it can easily be overwhelming. And like you said, the chart is not intuitive. You don't look at the chart and you're like, oh, cool, got it. You're like, whoa, something crazy is going on here. So I would say the simplest information is often so impactful. So I would start by learning your type, which really speaks to kind of how you best use your energy, your strategy, which is around kind of how to create the most aligned opportunities. Are you meant to initiate, wait for things to come to you, wait to be invited? And also your inner authority, which basically speaks to how you best make decisions. And like every day we're making decisions, from like, you know, daily stuff of where to spend our time and who to spend it with, to like new clients or where we're going to move or whether to have a kid or whatever it is. So I would start with those three pieces. There is so much more underneath that, but those three pieces, just knowing them alone, can be transformative.
I've definitely felt the more I've got into it, it feels like an eternity learning situation. Like, it feels like there's just layers upon layers upon layers. So those three first things that you've mentioned there are the three things that I actually wanted to touch on. So what is the type? Like, what does that even mean?
Okay, so the type is around how we best use our energy. And so there are 5 types in human design: manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. So manifesting generators, which is you, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So they are kind of here to be like the multi-passionate creators and doers, ones that have such amazing energy to make things happen, but also like might find that your career path is not so linear. Like, you're really here to honor where your energy wants to go, even when it changes. You can be so charismatic, so magnetic, not necessarily here to handle like every detail along the way, but to kind of be in your own creative flow. And I would just definitely do your very best and not put yourself in a box. Like, the fact that you were once lit up by a thing might not mean that that kind of excitement sustains. Have you noticed that before I kind of briefly talk about the other types?
1,000,000,000,000%. And actually, when I first discovered this and I understood what manifesting generator meant, my whole life I have felt like I was wrong to pursue lots of different things all at once. Everyone says you should never multitask. It's like the worst thing you can do. You've got a niche, you've got to do one thing, you've got to do this. And so I think I made it wrong for myself to be this kind of here, there, and everywhere type of person, just following the creative flow of my life. And the funny thing with something like human design is, and while I know that we shouldn't be waiting for permission, it does actually kind of give you some kind of internal permission slip that you need. So when I discovered that I was a manifesting generator, I was like, right, this is who I am. And it actually gave me so much more freedom just to go for it and to trust that if I'm loving something today and not feeling it next week, I can leave it there and it'll all fit in somewhere down the line. Like, it's so liberating.
It is. And it's just like, and I think especially for manifesting generators, they've often been made to feel scattered or like they're doing too much.
Yeah.
And it's just so relieving to be like, oh, I'm actually kind of meant to do it all. And like,
Yeah.
and like the fact that the things I do don't always make sense together, like that's okay too. Like me being excited by that thing is enough reason to do it.
Yeah, honestly, it is. I think human design, the biggest word I would say it is liberating.
Totally. And relieving and permission giving,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, I get to be me and that's fine.
Yeah.
Super high level generators are really here to be kind of masterful doers. They have this like steady, beautiful commitment to kind of bring ideas to life. It's so important for them to be so lit up by what they're doing. We've got projectors, which are really here to be leaders and guides and advisors and teachers and not here to do all the doing. So projectors are really innately sensitive to others and they're really good at kind of guiding others and asking the right questions. Manifestors are the initiators, the disruptors, the innovators, really good at getting a thing started, not necessarily doing all the doing to sustain that thing. And then reflectors are our collective mirrors, people that are deeply sensitive to their physical space and always kind of taking in and magnifying the energy that they're around. And so they are meant to be such ruthless curators of the people and places they're spending time with and in. And they just see and sense things that so many people miss.
I've heard that manifesting generators are the most common type and reflectors are the least common. Is that right?
Manifesting generators and generators collectively are the most common type. And they're kind of divided equally, like 30 to 35% each. And then reflectors are 1%. So they're much more rare. And then projectors are the after manifesting generators and then manifestors.
I don't know why I've remembered this, but I seem to remember reading that Sandra Bullock is a reflector.
Yes.
I have no idea why I know that information.
Well, honestly, they're just like, I share a lot of celebrity profiles and
I
or
love
like
those,
people in history. Yeah. But also like I really wish there were more reflectors. Like Sandra Bullock is really kind of like the only famous one that is like well known. Some people think Michael Jackson, but a lot of people like his birth information could also be a projector. There's a woman, Amma, who's a hugging saint. She's a reflector, but there are so few because it's a more rare type.
So the strategy then, this piece for me was also just, so freeing. I can't even begin to tell you because, so my strategy is to respond and inform. And it's funny, as someone who's uber creative and uber productive, I think I would put pressure on myself to come up with all of the unique ideas. Yeah. And then actually what I've realized is to respond, I need to take in a huge amount of inspiration and knowledge and learning in order for me to feel inspired enough to create. Yes. And the times in my life when I've been at my lowest is when I haven't been inspired and taking in a lot of information. So talk to us about the strategies, the different strategies and what they really mean.
Yeah. So the strategies correspond to our type and they really speak to kind of how we best create opportunities for ourselves. And so generators and manifesting generators are here to let things come to them. So for you, you're not really meant to chase after force. You're really here to just like wait for things to show up and spark your gut where you're like, oh my God, I must go do this thing. And maybe it's not what I thought I was going to pursue, but I'm so lit up by it. I must make it happen. So it might be a podcast, a text message, whatever. Like you're waiting for things to show up and excite you rather than kind of forcing or initiating. Manifestors are here to initiate. They're here to just like the urge comes, they just go make it happen. And kind of keeping the people around them in the loop is also very important. Projectors are here to be invited. So for us, it's not really about responding to the things in our environment. It's waiting for somebody to be like, hey, I see you. I love your perspective. I want to hear you. Like, come share your guidance with me. And then reflector strategies, like some people say it's about taking their time with decisions, but they're really here to be invited by others as well. And for a reflector, being in the right space, like the right city, the right office, the right home, it is often a thing that kind of makes them available for the right opportunity.
Right. That's interesting, isn't it? Because I definitely find that I'm very sensitive to my environment as well.
You've got that too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got to, like, you can see it's all got to be right. You know what I mean? It's got to feel expansive and creative and light me up.
Yes. Yeah. I think that it's so core to reflectors, but there are, again, this is just the first piece. There's so much more underneath type, but you're somebody who's so sensitive to your physical space. And so similarly, I think being like having your office feel good, being like a town or city that feels good, like making sure the restaurant feels good or the hotel, like it impacts your well-being so deeply. I always encourage for people that have it like you, like to be high maintenance about your space, you
Oh.
know, and have your husband support you in that, because you being in the right space makes all the difference.
And again, that's like relieving and permission giving that I'm not actually crazy, that, I like everything to feel really inspiring and beautiful around me. I've always thought that was like
Yeah.
a weird thing about me, but actually when you figure out why it is and how better I operate when I am taking care of my space,
Yes.
just incredible how impactful all of these different things really are. So inner authority then, what
Yeah.
is inner authority?
So our inner authority is around how we make decisions. There are 7 possibilities. It's just so important. Like I said, we're making decisions all the time. And I think we often get in our head and try to rationalize or convince ourselves in or out of things. And our inner authority is like, what is that deeper knowing within you that you can rely on to make the right decisions for you every single time? So people that are emotional or wait for clarity, they're meant to sleep on things and feel into things. So kind of give things a beat before they say yes. There are people like you, which are sacral or trust your gut, which basically means you are meant to make decisions in the moment based on your gut feeling. As soon as the gut feeling is there, go for it. If it's anything but a full bodied yes, it's often not the right timing or not the right thing. There are splenic or tune into your intuition, which is kind of trusting your intuitive knowing in the moment, meant to be very spontaneous. This is not really the gut feeling. It's more like a quiet knowing that comes in, like just a resonance with something or not. There are some people that are ego or tune into your willpower, which is kind of tuning into what your heart is pulling you towards, what you desire, what you feel motivated by. There are talk it out or self-projected people that are here to kind of say things out loud and kind of see how things feel when they talk it out. There are people called mental projectors. I call this talk it out and be in the right space. They're really here to kind of surround themselves with people that they trust and just say things aloud. Again, not because they're looking to others for advice, but because they want to see how it feels when it comes out of their own mouth. And the final one is for reflectors, and they're meant to give themselves a full 28 to 30 days before they make a big decision. I know, which is like, I'm always like, whoa. And I am supposed to sleep on it. But I think so many reflectors I talk to, they're like, yep, totally 100%. And like, it's not for every decision, of course, but for those big decisions, like they go through this really beautiful process of like sampling things and feeling into things from lots of different angles. And so really giving themselves the space to kind of be in that and not to kind of rush or put pressure on themselves.
I mean, I do feel, even I felt it before, but talking to you now even more so. Obviously, a lot of my listeners will be coaches and healers and guides and things. For me, I almost think that like every client you have, you should get their human design chart. So you better
Yep.
understand where they're coming from, why they
Yeah.
operate the way they do. Because I think we all get so caught up in our own, so it's like years ago, I would not have understood why someone couldn't just make an instantaneous decision. I'm like, what is taking you so long?
Right.
Like you either
Right.
know or you don't know. And they're like, no, I need
You're
time.
like, I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Because we all think everyone's kind of like us until we start learning this kind of stuff. And then we're like,
Yes.
ooh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah. And like it just leads to so much friction to be like, why are they not more like me? You know? And I think human design is like just gives us really specific language to be like, they're meant to make decisions this way, their energy operates this way. And it's just really relieving to know. And I think the experience you shared is such a common one where it's like, I'm making decisions quickly. Why can't they? You know? And so it's so empowering to know how different they are. And I think also what you said is so smart is that like I work with so many therapists and coaches that really kind of integrate human design into their work and really like want to know their clients because it helps them know how to individually support them.
Yeah.
You know, to kind of be like, how can I really target and support this person's uniqueness and not try to make them like me?
Exactly. So on my business program, I use some Clifton strengths analysis, but I'm going to be incorporating human design as well. And I'm going to be doing charts for all of my clients, and to the best of my ability. Maybe I should just get them all blueprints. Actually, that might be an easier way of going about
A lot of people do that. It's so good. Yeah.
To help them understand, but also to help me work with them to build a business that's going to actually work for them, not against them.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
So how can I, as an entrepreneur, how can I honor my human design type, my strategy, my inner authority as I am going about growing my business?
I'm going to use you as an example.
Ooh, cool. Okay. If you
only because like the thing with human design is that it's really hard to generalize, you know, it's like so hard to give people advice when it's just like, oh, but it's so specific to you. So I would say as a manifesting generator, like you are really meant to build a business in a way that feels good, and like in a way that really is like so personally satisfying and exciting to you, and not in a way that's like, oh, this is how others are doing it, or like I've got a niche down, like you said. I would really hand off the details and the pieces that deplete you when you can, because again, your gift is like bringing an idea to life almost immediately. And so like having the space to do that is great. And if you kind of get like pulled down by all the step by step along the way, it could be kind of exhausting. I would not expect your team to move as fast or do as much as you. I think that you'll be disappointed. They have their own gifts, and it's just about kind of taking the time. Human design is a great way to do this, to kind of really understand what their gifts are. I would know that your strategy is about letting things come to you. And the more lit up you are, the more magnetic you become. And so I would just see what shows up in your world that excites you, and let that drive where you put your energy, rather than kind of getting really lost in your head of like, but what should I do? And like, maybe I should make this happen, and kind of like forcing or initiating. And then for your authority, I would trust your gut response in every single decision you make, from like who you collaborate with to like honestly making sure your clients light you up and they feel right in your gut, to whether that marketing email is right. Like your gut is meant to drive it all. And so doing your very best to kind of drop into and like honor that gut feeling.
I think that honoring my gut feeling and dropping into it, that is why before we started recording, I told you I was awake at 3 a.m. this morning, because I literally get woken up in the middle of the night with divine inspiration, and I have to get up immediately and get it all out. Otherwise, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel into that, and more I'm actually just like allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
I used to kind of stop it and block it, but now I'm like, no, let it flow.
Yeah. And it's also, it just feels like you're also recognizing that like, I can't always control when it comes or what the structure is going to be. I can just like make myself available for it.
And what shifts do you see people making in their lives in general when they start living and honoring their human design?
Oh my gosh, so many. I think that like they tend to find a lot more success in their business because they feel permission to kind of build it in a way that works for them, but also bring on the support that would actually be useful. They find a lot more flow in their relationships because they are, like we said, not expecting their partner to be like them. And they're kind of really learning how to navigate those differences and honor them. I've seen it be such a supportive tool in parenting. Just because they're really learning how to support a child's uniqueness from day one. I think I work with a lot of teams, and it's just so amazing to kind of really know how to work together and kind of like understand each person. I mean, there's so many layers. Like, I think it really allows us to find alignment and flow in every part of our lives, mostly by giving ourselves permission to like parent and work and be in a relationship in a way that actually works for us. And I just think where we often get stuck is because we're trying to walk a path that's not actually ours to walk.
Yeah, it's almost like a settling into who you are.
Totally. Which you probably would do on your own anyways, like I think like human design, like if people are really self-aware, like they're like, oh yeah, I have been doing that, or even like your husband sharing, it's like, oh yeah, I do this, and that you're just giving me a language for a thing that I've already do. So like, I think that human design accelerates the process and it really kind of affirms it. But I think that when we're doing work on ourselves, we're often going to discover these things ourselves.
And I think, like you say, human design and learning your human design does accelerate it. And I just want to mention again, your human design blueprints. I am going to be putting a link in the show notes for anyone who hasn't had theirs yet. Go and get it, because it's amazing. Mine's like, I don't know, it's 60 or 70 pages, and it's like dog-eared and got notes all over it.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
So
I'm also happy to, I can create a discount code for your audience too, if you'd like.
That'd be amazing. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, and I'll include that as well.
So
if you're new to human design or you want to know more about it, I definitely recommend downloading your own personalized blueprint. But also, if people want to learn more about how to read human design charts themselves for their clients, is there any book specifically that you recommend people can kind of start the journey of learning more?
Yeah, I would say the one book I recommend is The Definitive Guide to Human Design. It's like super dense and very textbooky, so I just like acknowledge that it's really not for everyone. But it is like, it's a resource text in a really nice way. It doesn't include everything, and there's a lot of kind of like lack of practical application in it, but it is a really, like, if you're like, I'm so curious to just read a book, it's a good place to start.
Excellent. Erin, it's been such a joy. Thank you so much again for joining us today. I'm so grateful for you, for the work that you do, and really thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
I hope everyone enjoyed that today. Like I say, Erin's link to the blueprint will be in the show notes. And if you've got any questions, either contact me or contact Erin directly. Thank you for listening.